First of all, just to answer a question which I've tried to explain to everybody, I know I have not become a pirate, although that would be a qualification for the U.S. Senate. I had surgery on my eye a little more than a month ago for an injury I sustained in a boxing match, which was kind of my own stupidity. But I had a detached retina, and so therefore, the two people really unhappy about my being here are my wife and my doctor. But I had to get out of the house. I spoke at the Broward Libertarians a couple weeks ago because I committed to it months ago before I knew that I was having surgery. I had told Gore Vidal's nephew, Alex Vidal, that I would do it. So I needed to show up, and I was half blind, but we had a great crowd, and it was a good time. As many of you know, I was a Republican. And there was a time that the Republican Party, Governor Johnson was a Republican Party.
I was a Republican.
We belonged to we were Goldwater Republicans. We were Liberty Republicans. We were small government Republicans. There was a time that the Republican Party was the small government party. And I have great sentimental affection for the old Republican Party, but that Republican Party no longer exists. They are today a Wall Street party. They are the same as the Democrats. They're the big money, special influence party. The two parties have sadly morphed into one party. It is the big spying party, the big spending party, the big debt party. It is the party that I think is eroding our civil liberties. And we have a secretive government. So I am very proud to have made the decision at the time that Governor Johnson switched parties. I waited until the Florida Republican primary. I then voted for Ron Paul, and I switched the next day. Woo! And I would have to say that in the almost 40 years that I have been in national politics, there is nothing I have done, including my service for American presidents, that I'm prouder of than helping this man get on the ballot in 48 states. And it would have been 50, but Republican courts us in political proceedings because this man was eligible and did qualify on all 50 ballots. That made me very proud. And in my opinion, the reason they should let you in the debate, if you're on the ballot in enough states, to acquire 270 electoral votes. Gary Johnson was. That's why he should have been in the debate.
Yeah.
In all honesty, I have had my own odyssey. I was a very conservative Republican. I became disillusioned with the Republican Party. I now must tell you that I believe that the right-left divide is a Hegelian trap to kind of distract us from the fact that we live in a time of central control by government and special interests, and to make us fight with each other. At the same time, the two parties are in it together. It doesn't matter whether it is Clinton or Bush or Obama or the next Republican or Democrat president. The policies remain identical. They endeavor to sound different. I'm going to close Guantanamo, they tell us. I'm going to end this fire. I'm going to end this war, but it never ends. Because endless war is good for the munitions manufacturers. It's good for business. It is good for profit. So the idea of Bush and Clinton as our choice, this is no choice. Jeb Bush gave Hillary Clinton a medal. How can he run against her? So for 8 years, Jeb Bush was governor while his brother was president. And not once did he object to the spending and the mushrooming of government, or the spying, or the phony war, not once. And now he says to us, I'm my own man. What evidence is there? He surrounds himself with his father's advisors and his brother's advisors, the proponents of endless war and spying and the erosion of our civil liberties, and he tells us he's his own man. And Hillary Clinton is taking so much money from Wall Street and from the special interests. She's taking so much money through this phony charity, which, in friends, this is a slush fund for grifters. Yes. The Bush-Clinton Foundation raised $148 million for Haiti relief. They spent $10 million in Haiti for housing. Yes. They absorbed the rest. Yes. It's a scandal. Yes. And then you see a small ad in the Washington Post telling us that their corporation has disbanded after doing away with all their funds. 15% of the $2 billion the Clintons raised for their charity was spent on charitable works. 20% was spent on luxury travel, because the Clintons don't stay in anything less than a 5-star hotel or fly in anything less than a G5 or a Gulfstream. Trust me, Hillary would not stay in the Quality Inn in Port Richey under any circumstances. This is a phony charity for grifters. It's a slush fund. And unless any of you think that poor Chelsea is a child, stop thinking of her as a child. She's an adult. And when General Electric had a contract on Hillary's desk, a multi-million-dollar defense contract, suddenly NBC, which they own 51% of, gave Chelsea $600,000 for doing nothing. It's bribery. It's rampant in both parties. It's why I'd like to run. It's why I'm giving serious consideration. Now, I'll be candid with you. This filing is in July of next year. And I'm not going to run a 19-month campaign for the Senate because it is untenable. I've written a book on the Clintons that will be out September 1st, which details their non-financial crimes. I have a contract to write a book on the Bush family, which is a very ugly story because the Bushes financed the armament of Nazi Germany. That's how the family money came from. They have a long association with the Central Intelligence Agency, but the most repugnant thing is the Bushes, along with a number of other prominent families, were the major funders of eugenics. Eugenics is the sterilization of people you don't like, people that someone decides are inferior. The Grays, the Bushes, and others were major funders of this. This ultimately becomes known as Planned Parenthood. In its most extreme, this is Nazism. It's the annihilation of people that someone deems to be inferior. So and that arc goes to George W. Bush, his strange connections to the Kennedy assassination, his time at the CIA, the running of millions of dollars of drugs into the United States to sell them to fund ammunitions for the Contras during the Reagan years that Vice President Bush was in charge of, and Jeb Bush's own shady connections to Miami elements that could not pass the smell test today. So it's an epic story, and Jeb is just another in a continuation of elitists.
And Marco's in that too.
Marco is a neighbor down the street. So the way this works is very clear. There's a phenomenon known as elite deviance. And people of a certain class who have enough money and enough influence and enough pull that they never suffer the consequences of their acts, whatever they may be. That does not describe us libertarians. In any event, I'm going to think about the Senate race. I'm proud to be with you tonight. If I run, I would run on a platform of supporting our civil liberties, the repeal of the NDAA, the repeal of the Patriot Act. I'm opposed to sending troops to the Middle East. It's a giant mistake. We saw the Russians put their foot in this trap. It worked so brilliantly, and then we turned around and put our foot in the same trap. It makes no sense. There's no point in this war. Like Governor Johnson, I'm not an isolationist. We realize there's bad people in the world, and there are rare occasions where intervention is merited, but I haven't seen it in this administration or the previous one. I would obviously be for the reclassification of marijuana immediately, and ultimately want to move our way towards legalization. This is an absurdity that we treat marijuana the same as we treat heroin and cocaine. It's an absurdity. It's something that Governor Johnson championed in his campaign. So I would run as a hardcore libertarian, and I would run hard, and if I do this, I want your support, I welcome your support. Have another drink. Thank you.